all intertwined together. You know, the character and the wrestling.
It was discovered at that time, Terry Bollea, also known as Hulk Hogan.
In a world where the line between reality and entertainment is increasingly blurred, few stories have ignited public fascination, quite like the latest viral footage claiming Hulk Hogan is still alive. Just days after fans mourned the reported death of the wrestling icon on July 24, 2025, a shaky, dimly lit video emerged online, allegedly showing Hogan alert and alive, sparking confusion, disbelief, and an internet firestorm. For generations of fans who grew up chanting Hulkamania forever, the footage feels like an emotional uppercut to the heart. Was it staged? Is it real? Or is this just another twist in the saga of a man who's blurred fact and fiction for over 4 decades? Let's break it down. July 24, 2025. The morning of the incident. It was just another hot and humid morning in Clearwater, where Hogan had chosen to retire after decades under the bright lights and roaring crowds of professional wrestling. The neighborhood, a typical Florida suburb dotted with palm trees swaying in the light breeze, seemed worlds away from the adrenaline-fueled arenas where the Hulkster once electrified tens of thousands of fans. At precisely 9:51 a.m., the quiet was shattered when emergency services received a distress call from Hogan's residence, reporting cardiac arrest. The arrival of Clearwater Fire and Rescue was swift, their sirens piercing the calm as they rushed to the scene with urgency. Paramedics immediately began life-saving measures, performing vigorous chest compressions on the unmistakable figure of Hogan, whose broad frame and iconic bandana had become symbols of an era. Witnesses later described the scene as haunting. Paramedics struggling against time, desperate to revive the man who had once body-slammed giants and carried the spirit of wrestling for decades. The paramedics loaded Hogan onto a stretcher and rushed him to an ambulance, which sped towards Morton Plant Hospital, where specialists would fight to save his life. But despite all their efforts, at 11:17 a.m., the legendary wrestler was pronounced dead. The official announcement, Major Nate Burnside speaks. In the aftermath, Clearwater Police Major Nate Burnside addressed the media, his voice calm but heavy with the weight of the moment. Standing alongside Interim Deputy Chief John Klonfelter of Clearwater Fire and Rescue, Major Burnside laid out the facts plainly, confirming the tragic news. "My name is Nate Burnside. I'm a major with the Clearwater Police Department. Just before 10 a.m. today, Clearwater Fire and Rescue, along with Clearwater Police, responded to a medical call at the 1000 block of El Dorado Avenue. It was discovered that Terry Bollea, also known as Hulk Hogan, was experiencing a serious medical issue. He was transported to Morton Plant Hospital and pronounced dead at 11:17 a.m., he stated. Major Burnside also emphasized that there were no signs of foul play or suspicious activity in relation to the call, a crucial detail that would become a touchstone in the heated debates to follow. The thoroughness of the investigation was reassuring to some, but for others, it only fueled more questions. The viral footage that shook fans, a new lens on the tragedy. Almost as soon as the news broke, a new chilling element emerged online. A short, shaky video showing Hogan alive after his cardiac arrest had been reported. This footage, captured by what appeared to be a neighbor or bystander's smartphone, showed paramedics performing chest compressions as they wheeled Hogan to the ambulance. The eerie glow of emergency lights bathed the Florida suburb in flashing reds and blues, shadows dancing on the palm trees and the quiet streets. The video was raw and unfiltered. Hogan's massive frame, motionless beneath a white blanket, was unmistakable. His absence of movement, combined with the frantic efforts of the medical personnel, created a haunting tableau. Yet the footage raised a complex question. If Hogan was alive in this video, what truly happened in those critical moments? Fans and critics alike began dissecting every frame. Was the video proof that Hogan had survived longer than initially thought? Or did it point to inconsistencies in the official timeline? The lines between fact and fiction started to blur as the footage spread like wildfire across social media, sparking waves of shock, sorrow, and skepticism. The complex legacy of a man known for blurring reality. To understand why Hogan's death and the surrounding controversy stirred such passion, one must look at the man himself. For nearly 50 years, Terry Bollea had blurred the lines between his real self and his wrestling persona. Kayfabe, the wrestling term for staged events presented as real, was an art Hogan mastered. Fans were often unsure where Terry ended and Hulk Hogan began, making his life story a living drama of triumph, struggle, and transformation. Hogan's career was built on charisma and spectacle. From body-slamming Andre the Giant to rallying the crowd with his iconic Hulkamania catchphrases, he became a larger-than-life symbol of strength and resilience. But behind the mustache and muscle was a man deeply human, shaped by insecurities and a complicated personal history. This duality made his sudden death all the more affecting, and, to some, harder to accept as simply the end of a legend. The timing of death and business ventures. A troubling coincidence. Adding fuel to the fire was the timing of Hogan's death. Just weeks before he passed, he had been fervently promoting his new wrestling venture, Real American Freestyle, a league scheduled to debut on August 30th, 2025. On the very day Hogan died, Fox Nation announced its partnership with the league, a bittersweet milestone overshadowed by tragedy. Compounding this was the report that ticket sales for the debut event were disappointing, with only 380 tickets sold for a venue that could seat over 3,800. Wrestling insiders and fans noted the stark contrast between Hogan's legacy and the struggles of his new promotion, prompting some to speculate about possible motives behind the timing of his death. Personal details add depth, surrounded by loved ones. Hogan's manager, Chris Volo, offered a touching detail amid the swirling rumors. Hogan died surrounded by loved ones. This intimate fact added a deeply human dimension to a global news story that was quickly turning into a public spectacle. For those who knew Hogan personally, this detail reinforced the tragic reality of a man who, after decades of fame, spent his final moments with family and close friends. The aftermath on social media, grief, speculation, and the birth of a conspiracy. In the hours and days following the announcement, grief poured in from all corners of the entertainment world. Yet, beneath the condolences and memorials, an undercurrent of skepticism began to surface, especially on social media platforms where wrestling fans are notoriously savvy. Fans accustomed to the dramatic twists and turns of wrestling storylines, including staged deaths and surprising returns, started asking an unsettling question. What if this was all just another work? To understand this reaction, one must consider Hogan's history of health rumors and his known penchant for theatricality. Just months prior, Florida radio host Bubba the Love Sponge claimed Hogan was on his deathbed, igniting panic that was quickly soothed by representatives insisting he was recovering well. Even days before his death, Hogan's manager and wife publicly denied health crises, painting a picture of a man doing phenomenally. Wrestling's greatest illusion, the art of kayfabe and Hogan's mastery. The wrestling world is built on the concept of kayfabe, making scripted drama feel real. Hogan had spent decades mastering this craft, merging his real identity with his character so seamlessly that even fans sometimes struggled to tell the difference. This blurred reality became fertile ground for conspiracy theories after his death, with many believing the Hulkster himself might have orchestrated an elaborate exit from the spotlight. In interviews recorded shortly before his death, Hogan reflected on his career and the advice he would give to his younger self. These moments, full of hindsight and poignancy, were seen by some as subtle clues, an artist preparing his final act. The Hogan Hoax Conspiracy. How Doubt Took Root Conspiracy. Theories about Hogan's death weren't born in a vacuum. Hogan had been the subject of false death reports before, most notably in 2015, when rumors of his suicide circulated but were quickly debunked as he continued public appearances. This history of hoaxes lent credibility to the idea that his 2025 death could also be a staged event. Social media exploded with theories. Some argued Hogan faked his death to save his struggling new wrestling promotion. Others speculated political motives or secret government cover-ups. Theories even extended into wrestling jargon, suggesting Hogan used his creative control clause to script even his own death, turning reality into the ultimate storyline. The medical backdrop: pain, surgery, and public statements. Medical realities complicated the narrative further. Hogan had undergone multiple surgeries over the past decade, including significant neck surgery in May 2025. While his representatives painted a picture of recovery, Hogan himself had spoken candidly about intense pain and physical limitations. In a revealing interview segment, Hogan described the agony of daily activities. Simple tasks like brushing his teeth became challenges due to pain. He confessed, "If you could be out of pain or have a perfect championship walk, what would you rather have?" I said, "I'd rather have the walk." His honest reflections gave both supporters and skeptics material to interpret. Some saw them as heartbreaking evidence of a body worn down by decades of wrestling. Others believed they were a calculated narrative to set the stage for his disappearance. The struggle with addiction and near-death experiences. Another critical piece in this puzzle was Hogan's battle with fentanyl addiction and a near-fatal overdose. His detailed accounts of surviving the ordeal added a layer of complexity to the public's perception of him. For conspiracy theorists, these experiences suggested Hogan knew how to manipulate medical situations, reinforcing the idea that his death could be orchestrated. He spoke openly about moments so surreal that he believed he was seeing visions, even recounting seeing his ex-wife's teeth come out and talk to him. This candidness painted a portrait of a man who had danced with death before, making the 2025 incident seem both tragically plausible and suspiciously timed. Wrestling's greatest mystery or tragic reality? The passing of Hulk Hogan, if it truly happened, has become far more than just another chapter in wrestling history. It's evolved into a modern legend, tangled in speculation, emotion, and the enduring complexity of Terry Gene Bollea's life. For some, it's a heartbreaking end to a man whose body endured decades of punishment for the sake of entertainment. For others, it feels like the ultimate work, one final act of kayfabe from a master of illusion who blurred the line between fiction and reality his entire life. The conflicting reports, the strange timing, the resurfaced footage, and Hogan's own history of hyperbole only add fuel to the fire. Was this truly the curtain call of a broken man, or a grand escape from the spotlight on his own terms? Whatever the truth, Hulk Hogan's legacy remains larger than life. Whether he's truly gone or simply out of sight, the mythos he built, equal parts muscle, charisma, and mystery, will live on in wrestling lore, leaving fans forever wondering if the final bell really rang. Stay informed, stay updated. Hit that subscribe button